right, guys, welcome back to the show. This is going to be a good one. I say that all the time, but I mean it. This is going to be a really good one. You're going to enjoy this. My guest tonight is a multi-talented and versatile artist who has made his mark in the pop culture landscape with his stunning and original artwork, his engaging and entertaining stage hosting, and his successful and innovative design company. With a flair for creativity and passion for fandoms, he has produced and contributed to licensed products for some of the biggest franchises in the world, such as Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and more. He has also hosted hundreds of celebrity panels at some of the most prestigious pop culture conventions in the country, such as New York Comic Con, Star Wars Celebration, Rhode Island Comic Con, and more. He's the owner and founder of Norse Legion, a design company that specializes in creating high-quality jewelry, accessories, apparel, collectibles for fans of all genres. He is a true legend of pop culture who has impressed and delighted millions of customers and fans around the world. It is my honor to introduce to you our esteemed guest for the night. He is a true Norse god of art. Please welcome the awesome Kevin Lyle, everybody. Yay!
You know what? Thank you very much. I've been doing this for about 10 years. I've been on other podcasts, and of course, Rebel Force Radio. So that's a big one. But that was probably the best introduction I've ever gotten. The Norse god of art or something like that was pretty fantastic. And I appreciate you saying Rhode Island Comic Con, which is my next. It's not my next show. It's my next big show where I'm a stage host. And so if we can say Rhode Island Comic Con about 10 more times in this thing. That alone would make this whole trip worth it. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I'm so thankful for you being here. I know we've talked about it for a while, and we had one scheduled, and I think I had kidney
like 3
stones.
years. Yeah,
I think I had kidney stones the last time it was set up. But no, man, I'm so grateful for you being here and for taking the time. I've been excited for this one for a while. So again, thanks.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I have the same question I always ask everybody, and your answer is going to be a bit unique to most of the people that I ask. But what is your military connection?
I saw Saving Private Ryan in the movies. No, I'm kidding. I was stationed in Germany actually when Saving Private Ryan came out. I was in the U.S. Army, and long answer to your question. We were in Bosnia. We were about 2 months in Bosnia when Saving Private Ryan came out. And a guy in my platoon, who I won't say his name, Kasky, Kasky's mother saw Saving Private Ryan in the theater while we were stationed in Bosnia, right north of Sarajevo. And she ended up calling the Red Cross, demanding her son be taken out of Bosnia. So the Red Cross called the Department of the Army called NATO, and NATO called the first Armored Division commander, General Ellison. Then he went all the way down to our battalion commander, who had our lieutenant go up to Kasky and said, "Call your fucking mother," and he did. And it was she saw that movie, and as you can imagine, that was like the first movie that came out that was like that gory, that was that realistic, because here I was in the Army, and I'm thinking, these poor actors, man, Jesus, they're I was in the Army in the 90s. And that's another thing I want to bring up, because I watched a little bit of your show, sitting here in your wonderful green room with this great art on the wall, by the way. You talked about old fellows in deployment. You said the old deployments in 98. That story I just told you was a deployment in fucking 98. But so thank you very much.
I mean, was it we all gave some gave all? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you did. We don't choose when we serve. Well, I mean, technically we do, but we don't choose the generation in which we serve. I remember somebody was telling me, they were like, oh, I served in whatever it was, and he's like, I would have went to war if I had one, and it's like, what are you gonna do? You serve when you serve, like.
No, that is all joking aside. I mean, and I'm not trying to be critical or funny at all, but it's just, all 24 guys in that platoon in Bosnia, they're still alive today. I'm in contact with probably 21 of them. Awesome. No offense, and I'm sorry to say this, I bet you can't say that about your platoons, obviously.
Yeah, unfortunately.
As I know, you and I have talked. You've been through some rough bush, man, and
that's water under the bridge. That's a lifetime ago.
I had a friend who did 5 deployments in the Army. He started right when I started, but he stayed in. He got out of the Army in E7, 10 years ago. So he did 5 deployments some in Iraq, some in Afghanistan. I forgot what the number was, but and he was talking about some horrible shit, and we were sitting around the bonfire talking, the fire pit outside, and they're like, "Well, what was your like worst experience in the Army? What could you do over again in the Army?" Because he was talking about all of the mistakes he made that might have done to this or whatever. And they asked me like, what was my worst part about the Army? And I said, my biggest mistake in the Army is I traveled Asia and Europe for 4 years with a camera I bought for $39. So it was I had it lucky. I had it really good. I had an awesome apartment in Germany, right in the middle of a vineyard. So I salute you, sir. You're a good guy, and you're doing really good stuff with Wounded Warriors and all that.
I appreciate it.
Oh,
and thank you very much.
That's why I wanted to come on.
You're making me blush. Stop it. So about you, because we're here to talk about you. I know how big you are into Star Wars, and I know how vested you are as a professional, but also as a fan. Outside of maybe Star Wars, like what do you geek out about? Like really geek out about?
Oh, outside of Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm still a big Star Trek fan. I never got that whole Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans don't like each other because most of my Star Wars friends that I have, and I have a bunch, I'm sure you do as well. We all watched Picard. I watched Star Trek Picard while at Celebration. We left one of the parties so we can watch the newest episode because that series was great this season. I don't know if you watched Picard or not, but it was fantastic. So definitely Star Trek would be my number one podcast. I actually just did I did a really cool patch for the Star Trek Las Vegas. I did a patch and a pin for them, a licensed one. And then Terry Metalis, the writer, actually reached out to me on Twitter and said, "Can I get some?" And I'm like, "You damn right you can get some." I threw everything Star Trek I had in my warehouse into a bag and sent it to him.
Nice.
And but I thought it was great. And then if I had to choose another one, it would be Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, I think, is I love Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. It's the one thing cool about Lord of the Rings is that there's little contradiction, and if there is, there's an explanation for it. When something is just they come up with new ideas and they decide Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru really aren't in their 60s. They're actually just in their 40s and they live under a sun. That's why they're so old like that, because 20 years earlier they were played by 20-year-olds. And it's just and so there's a lot of what do they call it, retconning.
Retcon.
In Star Wars and Star Trek, but Lord of the Rings there's not to say that in his Tolkien's essays and stuff that he wrote that he didn't change his mind, but as far as published stuff goes, it's usually pretty by the book, pardon the pun.
And you picked only like the three biggest nerdy geeky properties out there, but that's
I was thinking about mentioning Guiding Light and General Hospital, which are my fourth and fifth favorite properties.
Yeah,
but I just
Touched by an Angel. That's Touched by an Angel. That's my go-to.
I liked Highway to Heaven. Highway to Heaven was pretty cool because Michael Landon's like that. That's my boy right there. I do like Michael Landon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a child of the '80s, and I grew up like Knight Rider was like I loved anything that was like just super cool technology or just wild off the wall spy stuff. That was my jam.
My grandfather, World War II veteran. He was his favorite show was Knight Rider. He loved Knight Rider. He'd talk about because remember when he was born there were horses outside the house in Brooklyn. That's right. And he's talking about the cars zooming over things, and he got all excited every time it was on. I think it was on Sunday nights, and he would just watch it then, and he was just he thought it was the best.
That's awesome. Okay, so give us a brief, like, catch us up. I know you're an accomplished artist and you've done so much. How did you Kevin the child grow up to be Kevin the artist working on Star Wars and all these amazing properties?
I became an artist almost kicking and fighting. I didn't make a penny from art until I was 35, 34. I was in the Army, and I got out, and I thought for sure I was going to join like the FBI, the DEA, the U.S. Marshals, or something like that. I wanted to do something, And this was a year and a half before 9/11, and so because had 9/11 happened a year and a half earlier, I wouldn't have gotten out. And then I had to get those jobs I was talking about in federal law enforcement. I needed a degree, so I wanted to finish my degree, and then about halfway through college, I decided because as a vocation for a job, I went and to become a cop in New York, and I did the test and all that stuff, and I started going through the investigation process. I passed all the tests and everything, And I went through the investigation process, and it just kind of reminded me of some of the worst parts of the Army and just working for the government. That sometimes it reminded me that I'm like, do I want to go back into that life? I'm close to getting my degree. I can go off and get a job and do something else. And then right way the halfway through, this is a really long answer to your story. Right way about halfway through my last year of college, I decided I had taken a couple graphic design classes, and I said I should probably do that because it's growing. The internet's getting so big, and this is like 20, 25 years ago, and the internet was getting so big, and I thought there might have been jobs to me, so I went and got a master's in illustration. I went right from college to graduate school because 9/11 had just happened. The economy was in the tank. And so really the first time I ever started doing art like on a daily basis, I was like 30 and I was like 32 and I was in grad school. And then the funny thing is that I went to grad school to find out I'm not a very good artist when you compare me to Ralph McQuarrie and Doug Chiang and Ryan Church, all those guys I looked up to in Star Wars. I wanted to do that. And I had to come to the realization that I wasn't those guys. So I ended up taking a job out of grad school working as a drafter for an interior design firm. Like I would design like fireplaces and furniture, like high-end houses. I live outside New York City in Fairfield County, a very wealthy area.
Affluent.
And affluent is the word. And I'm from New Canaan, Connecticut, which is one of the most affluent towns in affluentness. And anyway, long story short, from that I ended up doing jobs for real estate companies and doing marketing. So I started doing billboards and brochures and map sites for high-end residential places, and that's what I was doing. And I was making my living, and I was doing okay, and everything was hunky dory. And then I went to Star Wars Celebration. This is the part of your story. I went to Star Wars Celebration 4 in 2007, and it was May 25th, 2007. I walked to the doors, and I'd never been to a convention like that. I've seen like Leonard Nimoy at a hotel or something in New York, but I'd never been to something that was as big as a baseball stadium full of Star Wars stuff. And it was just booth after booth after booth, selling toothpaste, doormats, shirts, magazines, statues, a lot of the stuff you have behind you, a lot of the stuff I have behind me. And I was just like, I am in the wrong fucking business. What have I done with my life? I was 35 years old, and I'm like, I will never be hungry again. This is what I will do, because I knew that it was open. I had no idea I went to Celebration thinking that I was going to be the biggest fan there because there's no Star Wars fan in the world like me. Because my brothers liked Star Wars, my neighbor down the street liked Star Wars, but not like you and me who could name the actor who played Bib Fortuna and stuff like that, which was Michael Carter, by the way. And I've interviewed him, and so. That was in May. The following November, I did my first convention. I had a couple prints on the table, and then I started doing patches and T-shirts, and every year it got more and more. And then I left the real estate business in 2012, and I started working for a licensor and helped them get the Star Wars license. And that's where you talked about Marvel and DC. That's where I did my Marvel and DC work, which was really small. It was a couple rings, a couple pendants, and things like that. I also did that for Sons of Anarchy. I did more work for Sons of Anarchy. And then when we got the Star Wars license, that was it. Since 2014, it's been my 40-hour, 50-hour week job. The hell, I work 20 hours a week. Let's be honest. But anyway, okay, that's just been what I've been doing, and that's how I got there. And just out of curiosity, was that the longest answer you ever got for that? Because I was like 10 minutes right there. I'm sorry.
And you aren't going to come close to some of the don't worry about that. You're not going to come close. We've had guys that tip the scales at like 2 hours in, and we're like, we've got to go.
Okay, all right, cool. But yeah, so it was a little bit of luck, a little bit of just
stubbornness,
passionate and stubbornness. I really wanted to do that. I was like, I don't care how it happens. I'm gonna do that, and it's fun. Drawing Star Wars. That's all I do.
Yeah, it's when you do. Was it when you do what you love, or you do what you love for work? It's not work, something like that, right? I mean, does it work?
Right, because sometimes I got to remind myself I have to get up in the morning. I have to do this, and I have to get ready for this convention. Because I do about a convention and a half a month, which means I do 2 on some conventions on some months and just 1 on another. Like this month I have just 1, and next month I have 2, I think.
Yeah.
New York being one. You'll be at New York, right?
Oh yeah. I'll be there.
Okay, cool.
We'll link up. Okay, so then my next question obviously is, how do you go from doing the art stuff to hosting? I mean, hundreds of panels at this point.
You know what? That was the same exact convention. I went to um, Star Wars Celebration in 2007, and I walked through that room and saw that whole description I just gave you. That was the first 5 minutes in the convention, and the second 5 minutes of the convention was a panel where the a bunch of villains from Star Wars, Admiral Piet and Darth Vader. He walked out. I almost crapped my pants. It was the first time I ever saw him. And then the guy doing the interview, just I don't know. I didn't think his question. I think his questions were kind of obvious, like how hot was the mask, and I didn't think he was funny, or I just didn't think he was good at it. And I probably shouldn't say that because you can probably look it up and find out who it was, and then tell him I was making fun of him. But anyway, I don't know. I just felt I could do it better. I think I or I at least felt if this guy can get a job doing it, I can also do it. Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
Mm.
And so I pleaded and asked the convention, the same convention that I ended up working at the following November, which is called Super Mega Fest in Boston, by the way. And that's a great show, and it's been around for a long time. And actually, that was the first show I ever did end up doing a panel. I did a trivia contest there. And then, okay, long story short again. So that trivia contest is a Star Wars trivia contest. And that Star Wars trivia contest, I recorded some of it, and I sent it to Mary Franklin and said, you should do this at Celebration and call it the Star Wars World Championship. And she goes, okay, and let's see if it works. Why don't you do it at New York Comic Con? Because we just signed a contract with Reed. And I'm like, okay. And then they had a couple Star Wars actors there. And I said, hey, since I'm hosting a trivia contest, can I host one of these panels? So my first panel actually was the biggest panel the panel at the biggest convention I've ever done. And I haven't done one bigger, and that's New York Comic Con. The very first panel I ever did was in New York Comic Con. Like, what the frick? I just, which to me just seemed like normal. This is the normal progression. I wanted to do this, and I'm going to get it. And not many people were there. There were like maybe 100 people in the audience, and there you can look through the window because we were up high in that one pavilion at the very top part of New York Comic Con.
Right.
So the whole building's made of glass for those of you that have not been there, and so you can look down and see thousands of people, buying Star Wars stuff, I guess, and then other franchise, like who cares? But anyway, that was my first one, and then from that, you take a photograph of it or whatever like that, and then you show it to some other convention and say, hey, look, this is what I can do. And then, I did my first interview was Anthony Forrest, who's a very good friend of mine now. I've been to his house in London. I'm going to his house in Germany next summer, and I was going to go in 2000, but obviously, or 2020, but because of COVID, I couldn't. And then I did Ray Hassett, that was my second one, and that was the guy who's your tauntaun will freeze before you hit the first marker. That guy from Empire Strikes Back. He's a cop in New Haven, which is about 20 miles away from me. And he's head of the crime task force. He's retired now, but at the time he was head of the crime task force in New Haven. And then just from there, as you can imagine in any business, you start going up the ladder. Before you know it, I'm doing Greedo, I'm doing Peter Mayhew, I'm doing Jeremy Bulloch, and then just last year I did Ewan McGregor, which that's pretty high. That's pretty high up there. It's somebody who's the top of the bill for 2 Star Wars movies, and then I've done Ewan a couple times. Actually, down in Nashville, ICCC in Nashville, Tennessee, which is like the greatest Star Wars convention in the world. I did that one last year and this year. And this year, Ian McDermott actually requested that I host his panel, which made me really, really happy.
Oh God, that's man. Once again, knowing like what you want to do, and just by sheer will of like force of will, just
do you know where I learned that? Do you know where I learned to do that?
Please.
The fucking Army. Just pound it into the sergeant and the first sergeant. This has got to happen. I should do this, and I should go to Budapest on leave at the end of July because it's my birthday, and I did. And the first sergeant let me go. And then they canceled it because of the bombings in Kenya. I don't know if you remember that. That was before you were in. But they canceled all leave, and this was like 4 days after my birthday. So I was like, "Fuck you, everybody! I'm going." And but anyway, so I learned that in the Army. Just force it until it works.
Yeah,
it will eventually work.
That's awesome. And now, so I want to kind of touch on all of the different facets that you bring here. So now you have Norse Legion, which is this apparel design creative company. I mean, First, how do you describe it to people, and tell us how it came to be?
Um, well, I needed a company to sell it under, and just excuse me, we were I had worked for a company that had the Star Wars jewelry license that I helped them get, and then I was selling jewelry at the conventions. And the first one I did it just under their banner, just their name. And the funny thing is that I had come up with the name for Norse Legion to start selling it like on my website, like on Facebook or something. And people were coming to my company's booth asking for Norse Legion, which I thought was great because I didn't even try it. And but I needed to branch off from them. Like, why would I put all my sweat and toil for people to go back to their website when they should probably be going to mine? And the boss didn't care. He's like, as long as we can get jewelry out the door, I don't care, how you do it. And so it was, the jewelry, the pin, and just I happened to find this. Where was it? I just found it on my thing. This was the first pin that I ever did, and we made 1,100 of them. Can you see it? It's R2D2, and it was for Celebration 2015, and that was the first convention we sold the jewelry at, and for Disney. And but no, it was after Disney took over. We sold 1,100 of them in 6 hours, and I was like, wow, we should have made 5,000 of them. My mistake. And then I realized that it was just better for me to branch off and do it on my own. And then a lot of conventions were hiring me to design their patches and stuff. And like this just came in today. I don't know if you can see these on this thing, but this was for Margot Upper Lotus, and she played how do you pronounce it? Tokkat. Okay, she played the Ewok that took Han's blaster from him when they fell from the net. When they took the blaster and they took Chewie's crossbow, and so that's why she has it. See it? She's got it in her hand. That little
that's awesome.
Little pain in the butt. And then this was one of the ones, the newer one for Susan, a really great friend of mine, and she's one of the Jawas in Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian. So I get tasked to do that. This is one of my favorite parts of the job is creating patches for the celebrities and stuff like that, because it's cool, and it makes me money. So
that's, oh my God, like what a dream come true to know that, like, I was just a big fan, and then fast forward and like you are as in the industry, like right up to being on camera, like you just short of being on camera in the universe, you're about as involved as you can be in this. What a dream come true, man.
Yeah, it is. And it's, but I'm not a businessman, so it's really hard for me to run this company sometimes because, shipping and stuff like that and handling, I'm fucking terrible at that. And I banged my back up really bad this summer, and I've been kind of out of commission, and then people were not very nice. They're pretty mad. But anyway, other than that, it is great. And I just need to hire a manager is what I need to do.
Yeah,
I need to get a third veteran in our 2 veteran group. We have other people that work for us as sales and stuff like that at conventions and things like that. But I probably need to have someone back at the office.
Yeah,
better at numbers and thinking than I am. Why you looking for work? You said
I might know people.
I just saw you pointed to yourself. All right.
I might know people. No, but like that's the downside of success is, you have to grow and supply demand. You got to meet the demand, and but what a bad problem to have, right? I don't have enough people to help me fill all these orders that I'm getting, and like that's a tough one, right? First world problems.
Yeah, right? First world problems, absolutely.
So okay, man. I mean, there's so much here that I wanted to touch on. I mean, you've worked with several Lucasfilm licenses and Star Wars products. I mean, I know. I've seen your artwork on the Topps trading cards, and all those.
That was
things.
That was my first licensed job. I had asked Steven Sansweet what his suggestion was. I think I spoke to him at Celebration, and again, just back in 2007. And I had brought artwork with me because Troy Elders, who's now a friend of mine, he ran the artist viewing. They do it every Celebration. I'm pretty sure. I didn't go to them recently, but they did them for like 9 celebrations in a row. He would he's an artist at Lucasfilm. He's a senior artist. He's like one of the art directors. And he would have a review of portfolios. Just bring your portfolio. He'll look at it and give you suggestions. And I brought my artwork to him, and his suggestions were nice, but I let Steve Sansweet see it, and his suggestions were a little more accurate and helpful. And what he said is go work for Tops. He says you're good enough to do sketch work for Tops, and go ahead and do that. And I did that for probably like 10 years, like maybe 8 or 9 years, somewhere in there. I stopped in like 2017. Yeah, so I started in 8 and did it in 2017. But it was cool. But you're not getting paid very much to do like the sketches. And sometimes I had one guy, he didn't like a sketch that he got from me, so he called me up and he threatened to punish me by lambasting me online, and he did. He went on some card website and said, "Look at how terrible this card is," and I told him to put the. Can I tell you the story because it's really funny?
Please, please.
I told him to put the card down. That's not nice, dude. It's like, look, if you want, I'll redo it or something. Send it to me, and I'll freaking paint the damn thing. I'll make it look like a fucking photograph, okay? Just don't be bashing me online. He's like, no, I don't have to. So I sent him a picture of his wife in the office building she worked in, because I looked it up on Facebook and I looked it up on the internet. And I just sent him a picture of his wife and he came back to me and he was a fucking lawyer. I'm like, well, you're good enough to know that what I just did wasn't illegal, but it probably scared the shit out of you. And he took it down. Yeah, he did. I thought it was funny. I laughed my ass off. My family thinks I was crazy for doing that.
That's outstanding.
But boy, he responded immediately too. I think I scared the crap out of him.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It's called Don't Fuck with the Army.
Hey man, you do what you got to do, man. Like that's outstanding. It's to have. Like, I don't know, man, because I've been a card collector, like amongst many other things. I'm a passionate collector of things. People call it a hoarder. I don't know. It's too organized to be hoarding. That's what I say.
You do have a lot of stuff, and I noticed when we had like the little pre-show this afternoon to see if the mics work and things like that. Your background was all like just plainly lit. It didn't look that exciting. And then, so yours matched mine, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And now we get on the show, and it's all lit up like it's freaking Melrose Avenue or something in Hollywood.
It's festive. It's festive.
It's really good.
Thank you. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like I've been a collector for so long. Like cards are among them.
Piece? Do you have a favorite piece?
Oh man, that's like saying pick a favorite child. Oh, that's hard. Because what you can't see from this angle, I also have signed movie posters, original artwork on comic book covers. I mean, skateboard decks that are signed. I mean, I'm just sports jerseys. I mean, like I have such a vast collection and such a varied collection. But I think one of my favorite pieces is the flux capacitor that I have that's signed by let's see, I zoom in a little bit. Flux capacitor.
Okay, I see it.
That's signed. It's signed by Michael J. Fox and Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd. So that's kind of like
that's cool.
Back to the Future. That was it for me. That was the thing that I was like, Hollywood magic. Magic exists. Like I saw that as a kid, and I was just like, forever. And so I met Michael J. Fox, and that was. And they say don't meet your heroes, but that was a day, man. I almost cried. A big baby, almost cried.
That's pretty cool.
Such a good guy. Anyway, enough about me. But I might have a Kevin Lyle somewhere in there. I think I do. Man, I should have brought it out. I should have brought it out.
Like a sketch card?
Yeah, man. A couple years back, I was like, you know what? And I was looking around on some internet forums. I might have found a little piece, and I like to support, my friends, my peeps. And so I was like, I know that guy. I'm going to get a little piece, and I put it, it's back there. It's
all right. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Well, that's the problem with the sketch card business is that I made $1.50 on that sketch, and somebody else sold it for like whatever, $40, $50.
Yeah.
But, but no, that's really cool. I enjoyed doing it, especially when I was still in real estate, and like, I'd come home and knock out like 20 of them in an hour or two, and or 3, and it was just fun. It was kind of cool, especially when I had never done anything before. I remember the first one I drew. God, I wish I knew what it was. But I remember starting, and I was just like, "Oh, this is cool. Oh, I'm freaking somebody now."
I mean, again, it's this idea of, that's that I know what I like. I honestly, I'm jealous because like I wish it was like I had that thing, because the closest thing is this podcast where like, oh, I know what I want to do. I want to talk about pop culture things, and I want to talk to people that are in the industry of pop culture. But outside of that, like I've never had this like I grew up knowing I love this thing and I'm gonna chase that dream. You know,
Well,
whether it's
that's what I told you.
sports.
That's what I told you. I was how old are you?
I'm about 39 now. Well,
Okay, so
Jesus,
I was just 4 years younger than you when I realized I wanted to do this, and I didn't even know what this meant. I never thought about, you know, making. I've made more money than I made in the army, including the money I got from college, just from making lapel pins, just lapel pins. And then I didn't think of that until I was like 41, 42. So it's no, don't worry, man. You got plenty of time. You never know where life will take you, and sometimes it takes you to bad, horrible places, and sometimes you end up doing podcasts that are like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was doing like Fear Factory, and he was
yeah.
doing like making people lie with ants and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You would have thought, okay, his career is going nowhere, and now he has a podcast. Both presidential contenders in the last election wanted to go on his show. Well, Joe Biden probably didn't, but Trump did, and and he's like, no, not unless I get both of you.
Yeah.
So he's a huge show. So my point is that you never know, where life's going to take you.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, here we are having this heart to heart, man. You never know where life's going to take you. Okay. Let me ask. I have my list of questions. You know, you've hosted hundreds of celebrity panels at some of the most prestigious pop culture conventions. We talked about it. What are some
Like
of
Rhode
the
Island Comic Con,
like Rhode Island Comic Con?
They have a huge number of Star Wars guests. I'm not going to list them because if I forget one, then I'm in trouble. And I know they just announced two, and today, and I've already forgotten who they were. But anyway, it's a great
Rhode
show.
Island
Go there.
Comic Con. Go there. Be there. You don't want to miss
I'm
it.
sorry. Go on with your question.
What are some of the skills or techniques that you use? Because like you kind of touched on it a bit, but to engage with these celebrities and the audience, like how do you? What's your style?
Well, I think first and foremost, the most important thing to me is that I'm not there for me. I mean, obviously, you don't want to make the actor feel intimidated, or ask him about his divorce, or ask him about his troubled this or troubled that. You don't want to do that, and that's a clear one. But a lot of people, I think, when they get in front of audiences, they want to get that laugh from the audience, and they want to get attention. It's not about you, and if you're speaking for more than 10% of the panel, that's not good. You want now. Sometimes you have, and some of these actors are getting up in years, so sometimes you have to be a little bit more engaged, and also sometimes there's and I hate when this happens, but like when you have like 9 people on one panel, and that's happened to me twice, and it's hard because if it's an hour panel, each person's getting 3.5 minutes if I don't speak, and I've got to speak and to ask the questions, to do what you're doing, and so but you got to think that the audience has to come first. And I know most people be like, well, the celebrity has to come first. And I'm like, no, the audience has to come first. They have to enjoy it. They have to tell their friends and family to come back to the show, or nobody comes. And I think even any actor will tell you that if the audience isn't happy, there ain't no show.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, the second thing, and also very important, is the respect of the actor. So the answer to your question is that there's 3 elements to a panel. It's me, the audience, and the celebrity. And the one that doesn't matter, and the one that shouldn't take itself as too important, is me. I'm a nobody. Oh, Ewan McGregor has no idea who I am. I sat with him for an hour. I asked him questions, some of whom I'd like to think he'd never been asked before. He had a good time. He asked me for one of my Guinness shirts, which of course I gave him. And I charged him only $29. No, I'm kidding. I gave it to him. I'm dying for him to wear it. I haven't seen him yet, but I'm dying for that to happen. Yeah. But the thing is that he doesn't know who I am. He doesn't care, and you got to move on with that. And the audience that saw that in San Antonio, they've probably forgotten my name, but
Oh, that's
the answer to the question.
No, it's so right. I mean, I've done some interviews where like childhood heroes or villains of mine. I had the T-1000. I had Robert Patrick on the show.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, and it's partly terrifying because you're like, well, I was terrified of this person as a child, and then he's staring at me, waiting for me to talk, and I'm just like, So, but it's like you said, where like for me, it's always the struggle of I want to ask questions that he hasn't been that he's not bored of. but you also want to be entertaining for the audience. So sometimes you toss them the softball, right? You know there's a good
Oh yeah,
story
yeah.
in there, and you got to kind of draw it out or tee them up for it. But and it's this weird for those that don't know, like we do. It's this weird dichotomy, this back and forth of keeping them interested and them having a good time, but keeping the audience interested and they're having a good time, and not hearing the same old stories, but also it's like, these guys do these interviews so many times and so often. It's like, how many interesting stories do they really have? So sometimes they gotta, recycle the goodies. But yeah, man, it's a gift. I've watched a couple of your panels, man, and you do just a smashing job. But I'm sure it helps that you're such a big fan of all the properties.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's also another thing is knowing what you knowing the property, not being nervous in front of a crowd. I've always said I speak better in front of a group of people than I do like to my family or to one person or to you. It's just something about there is an energy when you have. Let me put it this way. So when you're talking to somebody, people don't just stare at you when they're talking. They kind of look away, they look at their watch, whatever like that. But when you're on stage, they're staring at you, and
Mm.
there's like and I'm not trying to say I like the attention or anything like that. I don't. I'd rather have them not there and just talk to the actor by himself. But because they're there, it does just give you an energy. And when you do say something funny and 1,200 people laugh, it's kind of cool. And so there is that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Do you have, when you think back at your many, many hosting gigs, do you have any that are memorable or just like jump to your mind, like your favorite moment or the funniest moment of you hosting?
Oh, that's a really good question. The funniest moment I've they'll come to me as soon as I get off with you. As far as the funniest,
I'd be
obviously the
lucky
most
if you get off with me. I'm just saying. Just saying.
get off of your show, your little fucking army show. I'll probably think of it as I answer the question. As I answer the question you didn't ask, I'll probably come up with like the funniest moment. But another part of your question, the highlights, obviously, Ian McDermott and Ewan McGregor were great to talk to, and it was. I mean, I was sitting here looking at him, answering the questions as I'm talking, and he's got the same beard and the same haircut that he had in the show, and also in the series, in the saga 10 years earlier. And I'm like, dude, that's freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's listening to my words and answering what I'm saying, and so that's a big highlight. David Prowse, interviewing David Prowse was just phenomenal, and I remember the year before the panel that I hosted with him, I had taken a piece of paper and wrote Prowse 2012. It was 2011 at the time, and I put it on the manager's back, the guy who ran the show, John DeChico from Super Mega Fest we spoke about earlier in Boston, and I put it on his back, and he walked around the whole night with it on his back. And when someone told him, he looked at it, he's like, Lyle. And but he got him. He got him the next year. And interviewing him was I have to put that at the top because I'm such a big Darth Vader fan. I mean, that's a $300 Darth Vader mug behind me, and there's like a $600 statue over there. And I'm not trying to drop things, but I've got a signed painting right there of Darth Vader by David Prowse. I've got a signed painting there. I've got two downstairs in the TV room, and a bunch of other art, obviously. But Darth Vader is my. I'm not a focus collector because I like to have, because Star Wars, one of the cool things it has, the Jawas and aliens and the Falcon and land speeders, and so I like to have my collection. Have a lot of things. Obviously, the most character I have is Vader, but so interviewing him was just phenomenal, and he was really cool. And there is a partial. I mean, there's a video of it. It's not very good, but I think it's on my YouTube page, which has like 10 videos on it, and that's the only place it is, and it's done by a friend's camera, and you know what? And I wouldn't have put it up if it was some other interview, but because it was David Prowse, and you can still hear it, you can hear it clearly, you hear the conversation. It's just not a great video, but unfortunately, in that long answer, I did not come up with what was the funniest thing, because I know I'm going to come up with it.
Yeah, yeah. You let me know later when you think 1 o'clock in the morning when it comes to you. Just shoot me a message, or we'll post it to the page so people know.
I'll give one. One time
Sure.
we had somebody came up and asked what's the weirdest thing to sign, and in the middle of that answer, somebody said, "Hey, I have I have a. Oh, it was I'm sorry. It was a Boba Fett panel, and it was Jeremy Bulloch, John Morton, who played Boba Fett in Bespin during The Empire Strikes Back for like one scene because Jeremy was actually filming that scene of him playing himself an Imperial officer. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You're just shaking your head because you don't know. Anyway, but no, I'm kidding. You know, but and then there was one other Boba Fett there. Was it Tim Morrison? Oh, Daniel Logan, Jeremy Bulloch, John Morton. Oh, and Dickie Beers, who's the stunt Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi. So the four of them are there talking about Boba Fett, and they kept referring to Daniel Logan as the little kid, the little boy, the little the little whatever, Baby Fett. They were calling him Baby Fett. And so this guy comes up and he has his action figure because they were talking about weird things to sign. He's like, "What about this action figure? Can you sign it?" And the Fetts were like, "Yeah, cool, bring it up, we'll sign it." And he got all four of them to sign it for free. And as Daniel was sitting right next to me, and as it came down the aisle towards me, down the table towards me, it's one of those little, it's got like a bubble and an action figure. And I grabbed it and I looked at it and I said, "Hey, Daniel, you can sign it here right by the child warning part." And so I thought that was funny. So that's the only funny thing I could think of at the time.
Hey, that's not bad. Now I got
to think of something funny because that wasn't that funny. And that was the only thing I could think of. Damn it.
I love it, man. This is great. Your reaction's better than the stories.
All right, fair enough. I'll come
good.
up with something funny by the end of the night. Let me come up with the end because I'm sure something will come to my head.
Absolutely. Don't know if it's widely known or if it's a sore subject, but I was reading that in 2019 there was a theft that you were involved in, or that they had. It was 62 original Topps sketch cards were stolen from you. It was worth $10,000 at Celebration Chicago. The good news ish of it is that thanks to quick action from some of the fans and the police, most of the cards were recovered and the perpetrator was arrested. I'm curious, how did you kind of cope with that incident, and maybe did it change any of your feelings in kind of the fandom of the community?
Well, no, because if you take 10,000 people, 30,000, whatever, it's a celebration, 40,000 people, you're gonna come up with some bad people. And the fact that he thought my art was worth several felonies, that's kind of, actually, I never thought of that. That's kind of a compliment, he couldn't, steal from somebody else. But I would have to break the rule. We talked about no politics, but when that happened, because you asked how I felt, I called the police the second day of Celebration, where they had at 10 o'clock, they were going to have or 11 o'clock, they were going to have the big episode 9 reveal. We didn't even know a name yet. And remember, they revealed it at that panel.
Right.
And so I was going to go to that panel, but then the robbery happened, and I called the police and says, "Well, it's going to take us 2 hours to get there or whatever. Well, we won't be there till noon." I'm like, "All right, so at least I can go to this panel." And because I know people, I'm able to get in the panel. I can sit right in the front row, and I do. And I'm a little bit more on the right leaning side, and this might deter some of your fans and stuff like that. And I don't care what your politics are. I'm fine with it. You voted for whoever. I don't care. But I don't like certain people in national media or whatever. And the panel started, and remember, I just lost 62 sketch cards. Each one of them at least worth $100. So that's like $6-7 grand right there. And somebody, I had a steel cable bolting the booth down, bolting it to the booth, I should say, the photo album. And the guy came in and cut it, and the cutter he used, he left there. He just cut it and ran. And so I was really angry. And then Stephen Colbert walked across the stage, and I'm like, I am fucking so angry right now. I just could, because I can't stand him. I think he's a fucking horrible human being. And that's how I dealt with it. But one of the cool things about it is that there was no video of him stealing. We had no idea who this guy was. And I said to the cop, he's going to sell them on eBay. He's going to sell them online, or the person he sells it to are going to sell them online, and that's how we'll catch him. The problem is he's not going to start selling them for months. And then the cop said to me, his name is Kevin Stoll, and he had one of those that like tough Irish accent, the tough Chicago accent. He's like, "You wouldn't believe how stupid these people are." Well, it turns out the guy started selling them 7 hours before I knew they were stolen. He had already caught himself. He already got caught. Just no one knew it yet. because he sold it on a site called Macari, which I'd never heard of.
Yep.
But it's another form of eBay basically. And so I posted on Facebook, hey, these guys stole my cards. Here's all 62 of them. So we had page after page after page of these cards. I'm like, you see any of these cards online, please, notify me. And then Peter Mayhew shared it. And then when he shared it, it was shared 375 times.
Wow.
And each one of them are sharing it on their Facebook page. So each one of them has a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people seeing this. So like millions of people saw this now because, 1,000 times 3, that many people. And then not to mention people saw it on my own page and shared it from there. So like 1 million people saw it. So very quickly, like, I got home Tuesday night from Celebration. By Wednesday, someone reached out to me and said, hey, I bought this card of yours. And you know what's funny? It's right here. It's right here on my desk. This card was sold for $9 freaking. It took me like an hour. It's a painting of Darth Vader, who, by the way, is my favorite character. So this, trying to get the glare away. There we go.
Very
so,
good, yeah.
So he sold this for like $9, $8 to this guy in Maryland. And I asked him, what do you want for it? So he's like, don't worry about it, man. I read your story. I'm mailing it to you right now. So once we found him online, I was telling you my buddy who writes my website, Nate, he's my right-hand guy, or I'm his right-hand guy because he runs the shit. He's a great guy. He was my boss in Bosnia. He was my sergeant. Anyway, he's in Colorado, and I found another one. The guy who sold this was selling another Stormtrooper one. I said, Nate, buy that. And Nate, because if he sees me buying it, he'll know the gig is up. So Nate bought it. And then while this is going on, I'm sending this to Detective Stoll at the police department in Chicago. And he goes, he said to me, I forgot how he said it. He goes, we'll track this guy down. And if I get him in a room, I'm going to break him. And I'm like, oh, get him. Yeah, he was an ex-Marine. He was a former Marine. And yes. He called me up the next day and he's like, you sitting down? This is the next day. This is like 3 days after I got home. It's like, you sitting down? I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's arrested in the car in front of me. We're driving him back to the station. I've got, 52 of your cards or whatever it was. And that was it. So he was caught, little bastard.
I mean,
don't steal art, man. That's just wrong. It's just stealing art. Stealing anything is wrong. But my art, don't steal it.
There's just so many things about that just like, I guess the biggest thing
was, do you want to hear the best part?
Please.
So he, this happened when was Celebration in 19? April? It was in April, right?
Something like that, yeah.
So in September, and I know it was September because he got arrested again. He was stealing at, and the prosecutor told me, or Kevin told me, I forgot which one told. So one of them told me, and they told me that he was arrested. So I looked online and then looked at the address where he was arrested, and it turns out it was like a department store. So he was shoplifting. So the prosecutor calls me and says, look, he's looking at jail time. The theft at the store was like minimal, but the fact that he had this felony with you, because anything over a certain amount of money is a felony, and this certainly was. He's got the felony with you and then this other misdemeanor. It's going to kill him. And the thing, I think they didn't want to put him in jail but it cost them. And she goes, what would you do if I knocked it down to a misdemeanor? And she wanted to rephrase that. She's like, what would it be worth to you? Because you missed some of your cards. And I'm like, I want like $1,000 for each card that's missing. And she said, okay, I'll bring it to him. And he agreed to it because it was either pay it several $1,000s or go to jail. Yeah. And he did. And she said, he's sending you a check, cash it, or bring it to your bank. And if it clears, once you get the money and we know it's good, I'll make the deal with him. So I ended up making, for those 4 or 5 cards that were missing, I made a great deal of money. I was actually quite happy. I was like, I hope the guy comes to my house and steals from me again. It was fantastic.
What a great turnaround in that it went from being stolen to being somewhat returned to being, you made a killing at that show, man.
What he ended up paying me covered the ones that I didn't get back. And I had a booth at Celebration. It paid for my hotel, the hotel of my employee. It paid for the booth, and it paid for my travel out there.
God bless, man.
So it was fantastic. It was a good time.
I mean, again, and you're right, stealing's wrong and all that. But what comes to my mind is like to go through all that effort and to do something that can clearly get you into big trouble, and then to sell each card for like $8-9.
He obviously needed money. He was really hurting.
I mean, what? I mean, 20? You know, it's just like $8, $9, man. That's to
Well,
steal.
any criminal that's going to steal stuff and fence it,
Yeah,
he's not going to get as much money as it's worth, and
yeah,
that's what's kind of sad about it.
that's yeah.
But oh
The
well.
turnover. Yeah, one of our guys in the chat is like, you sold one card for 9, now had to pay 1,000. That's true. Oh man, we're ready.
That's right. I didn't get the $9 back. He got that. He got to keep that bastard.
There you go.
Anyway.
Get it back. Sure, we're already running short on time. A couple more questions. So obviously you have a a large and loyal fan base, man. I see you working. We've run across each other in cons, and I see the way you interact with fans. How do you I don't know, like interact with your fans and I don't know, what are some of the ways that like that the fans have kind of inspired you? Does that make sense? Like
No,
how
it
do you
doesn't.
keep that?
Like, how do the fans inspire me?
Yeah, man. Like how do you, you know, for the people that don't know, going to a con or work, I've worked a booth at a con just like you have, obviously. And those interactions, I've noticed I sometimes get as much as I give, right, from the interactions. So I'm curious, as you as an artist, you as a vendor, like how's the interaction with the people that you're meeting and seeing again sometimes at cons?
I think it's cool. Like when I went to Columbus last year for a con, it was really good. And I'm gonna go again this year to that show. I had never been to Columbus. And to be honest, I haven't done much work in Ohio. The only thing I've ever done in Ohio is drive through it and go to Jason Swank's house, who runs Rebel Force Radio. And so I've never worked there. I never worked at a con there. And then I went to the con, and like there was like 11 or 12 people that I knew. Most of them were 501st. So it's kind of cool to be, likewise going to London to Celebration earlier this year. You know, I saw friends I hadn't seen in a couple of years, and we sat down, had dinner. We didn't plan it; we just bumped into each other. And my friend Jason from Nebraska, he came into this diner outside in London at like 10 o'clock at night, a day before the show started. He came in dressed like Krennic, which got my attention. Like, oh wait, that's Jason, and stuff like that. So I always think that's pretty cool. That wherever I go, somebody knows who I am, and it's not like I mean, and I know them, and that's kind of cool if that answers your question in
Absolutely.
any
No,
fashion.
absolutely. I mean, we were both at Awesome Con earlier this year. We didn't again these big conventions. Just as many times as you bump into people, sometimes you just right past them.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't get to connect, but we did at Contropolis in New Jersey.
If I knew you were there, I would reach out to you. I thought you were a New York guy because I met you in New York.
That's right. That's right. No, well, when you met me in New York, I was a New York guy, and then it was
Yeah, the
literally right
accent.
after that. Right after that is when I
The
came.
accent. I'm thinking Brooklyn, right? Pretty much.
Manhattan, believe it or not, Manhattan.
Manhattan, believe it or not.
You know how
Okay.
the military, man, it morphs your accent. You start
Where did I see you recently? I saw you somewhere recently.
Contropolis in New Jersey.
Okay, Contropolis in Jersey. Right, right,
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
That
I
was a good show.
traveled over.
That's run by Alter Reality, the same guys who are running Rhode Island Comic Con in the
Yeah,
beginning of November.
Rhode Island Comic Con. Again, so we've touched on just a bit of all the facets of your career. So I'm curious, in closing, do you have any advice that are maybe for aspiring artists or entrepreneurs, anybody that wants to pursue their dreams in the pop culture industry?
My daughter started developing and drawing when she was young, and Cordy, her mother, she was telling me how we should encourage that. What do you recommend we do? That she wants to be an artist, and I said break every bone in her fucking hand. It's not an easy job because it's like it took me a couple years to get. If it wasn't for Star Wars, I would be drawing like billboards in Manhattan for Crown Real Estate. That's where that was my last non-Star Wars job, and I thought it was cool. And it's just okay. I go to the office, I take the train ride, I read my Star Wars book on the train, which is cool because I was reading a Star Wars book a week, and that's a pretty good run. And but no, it is hard. But no, but if you have the passion for it, then there's nothing I can say to stop you because you're going to work at it. Artists have to create art. That's what we do. And I'm always drawing. I was always drawing, and I will always be drawing. I'll never retire. I will do this forever. And I don't know if I'll be lucky enough to do it for Star Wars forever. Probably, because the longer I do it, the more well known I get, and the more people are appreciative of what I do. If that answers your question.
Absolutely. One question from the chat before we end it. Does he have a favorite Star Wars book?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say you're obviously talking about a novel. I would say Heir to the Empire. I mean, there's some art books from Ralph McQuarrie that would be my favorite. I'm assuming he means a novel. Heir to the Empire. It's a great book. It's a great story. But I just remember reading it. I was so excited. I read like the first page and a half, and I've told Timothy he's on this because I know him pretty well. I have his autograph up there. He autographed and signed something for me. But I remember reading it. I read the first page and a half, and I'm like, I have to start over again. And this was like 1991, so I was like 19 or whatever. And right when that book came out, and I was so excited reading it. And I was like, oh my God, Luke is on a sidewalk. Luke is overlooking a city, and he's on a sidewalk. This is because I'd never seen anything. There was nothing from 83 to 91. There was nothing. I think all the Han Solo books had ended and stuff like that. And that stuff was before Star Wars. There was nothing after. So I would have to give Heir to the Empire. But I think Shadows of the Empire would have to get an honorable mention because that's a great book too. And I'd love to see them make that into a movie. Oh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Scott says a man of culture. So you're getting a big kudos in the chat. All right, man. We are at the top of the hour, and I promised I wouldn't keep you longer than an hour.
I don't mind. I like talking Star Wars. I got a full thing of iced tea. This is just iced tea. I don't drink when I do podcasts because I notice I start sounding stupid. I'm at that age. I can't drink like I used to. Not like back in the Army days. Remember what that was like?
Oh man, it was a different time.
But I do want to. Speaking of the Army, I do. Before your last thing, I do want to. We talked earlier. We're going to offer a discount to your viewers, your followers, because most of them are military. So my website, NorselegionStore.com, we have hundreds of products, and we're doing a discount of 15% for everybody that listens to this podcast, and the discount code is Go Army. I was going to do Go Army Beat Navy, but I know you got a lot of Navy guys, and I'm like, I don't want to be that mean. And it'll be easier for the Navy people to spell it too if I just keep it to 2 words. So Go Army, all caps, GOARMY. And I'll probably have it announced on my Facebook page too, or something like that. Well, then it takes away from this podcast. No, it's got to be on the podcast. You got to listen here. So Go Army. NorselegionStore.com. It's 15%. And what we've done also special is that we're going to run it for 2 weeks, just so I don't know when people watch the show.
Sure.
So any veterans here, and I mean I know you work a lot with Wounded Warriors, and you gave me this great coin. I should have brought it up. It's in my desk over there. You gave me that great coin that I sold on eBay for a lot of money. No, I'm kidding. I still have it. But if you do listen to the podcast, if you're like a disabled veteran or something like that, and you send me or Nate a really sad story, we'll probably give you $100 for free or something. But actually, the first disabled veteran that gives us a good story, send it to the website, and Nate will see it or I'll see it. I will give a $100 gift certificate to the first. Not wow. You though. It can't be.
Damn it. I was about to let's start typing. Like, okay, great story.
So I said that publicly. I'm going to stick to it. You get a $100 gift certificate.
Wow.
Knowing me and Nate, we're probably going to give it to 2 or 3 people. But anyway, we'll see what we can do.
I mean, careful, because we got at least. I mean, my God, I'm looking at the number. We got at least 15 people still watching live. Not to mention all the people that watch the replay and the recap. So, you might start getting inundated with people sending sob stories. Oh, back in my day. Oh.
But don't take it personal if we don't read it, because if we see the first one, it's really that's the one we're going to go with probably, or the second or third. And so don't take it personal if I don't respond. I don't mean to be a dick, but there's a lot of people out there. And,
a lot of people. But there you have. I mean, that is such a nice thing. I think the 15% is more than enough. Is more than nice enough. And I know we talked, I'd love to do like maybe a sponsored giveaway or something like that. So that way, give it a couple weeks, maybe leading up to New York Comic Con, we can do like a big, I don't know, whatever thing, I don't know, a shirt or something. And then we plug your channel.
You want to give it away at the show?
I mean, we could do something like that too. Yeah.
Why don't we do this? And we'll keep the discount and what I said before, but Why don't we do like the first 5 people that come to my booth that mention your show get a free t-shirt.
I mean, we could do that. We could do that.
I have no idea what my booth number is, but I know it's the same one I had last year, and it's if you're in the big huge room, it's the farthest one on the wall, all the way to the left in the back corner. That's where I am. I think it was like I'm not going to say it because I might be wrong.
Well, as we get closer,
this is my biggest show. This is my biggest show of the year. You think I'd look into it, but I think they didn't have a booth number yet either.
Yeah,
And I don't want to give you
time.
last year's number because
there's still some time before the show. And what we'll do is I'll post it on social media ahead of time, and we'll so there might be a running of the nerds to your booth at the start of the show or something. But
if you go to northlegionstore.com, there's going to be advertisements for that, whatever that booth number is.
Yeah.
And,
that's perfect.
Did I show you this, by the way? We were going to do a giveaway of these. I forgot what our plan was for that.
Oh yeah,
you can't really see it because
it's the Y-wing.
It's the Y-wing, and it's gold because of Gold Leader and Gold Squadron. So we've been doing X-wings and TIE fighters, and this is our first Y-wing. And then we have a snowtrooper coming up later in November. Ooh, I'm not supposed to mention that, but
we'll edit that out.
But so I guess we're going to give a shirt away, and we're going to give a discount, and we're going to give. You got a sad story? We'll hook you up or something.
Man, you are too kind. You are too kind, sir. This has been. I've enjoyed this, man, so freaking much. We'll definitely down the line when you do some more panels, get some more great stories, and we'll definitely have you back, and we'll shoot the shit some more. And I definitely look forward to seeing you at conventions. Maybe we'll do some lives or something like that, and just have some fun.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for having me in. This was really great. You do a lot of great work for veterans, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're a great guy. All right, thank you very much.
Awesome, man. All right, guys, I'm gonna toss it to a break. I'm gonna say goodbye to our guest, and we'll be back with more show right after this. This has been Kevin Lyle, man. Go check out NorseLegion.com.
NorseLegionStore.com.
NorseLegionStore.com. Sorry about that. And check out his stuff. Follow him, like him, look for him at the cons. Give him lots of sob stories. He's a big sucker for all the veterans out there. But we'll have him back again soon. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with more right after this break.